What's the best drunk story you have about a friend that you're not allowed to tell in their presence? Stumbling around late night in the city with 4 guy buddies after the bars closed, all of us either blacked out or on the verge. Random big-bellied non-threatening looking guy trots over to us and says, "Guys, stop. You can't be walking around the streets wasted like this. I'm an undercover officer," sort of scoping out each one of us. I know immediately this guy is full of shit, but wonder where the frick he's going with this, and watch him zero in on the sloppiest drunk in our group and order him to put his hands on the wall. With sloppy drunk friends' hands against the wall, big-bellied random guy starts feeling his body up and down and begins massaging my friend's balls. After a few seconds of this, I finally decide to yell at the guy, "Tell him to off, because no, you're not a frickin' cop, get lost." Random guy stops, mumbles a few things at me and walks away. A friend's mom is a lightweight who drank too many wine coolers, so she called her husband to drive her home. On a quiet country road she gets sick and with eyes shut tight projectile vomits out the window, directly into the face of a dude on a bicycle. She only realizes what she has done when she hears the guy screaming, "Jesus Christ," and her husband laughing his ass off. My friend was in town visiting and we had a pretty good party that weekend. The highlight of the party was my pal attempting an Olympic sit-up. This is where you challenge a drunk idiot to complete a sit-up, from the starting point of being restrained by a towel held across the face, covering the eyes. A quarter is placed on the towel, and the aspiring Olympian is told that he must complete the sit-up before the quarter hits the ground upon the towel being yanked away. He is not told that a big greasy sweaty drunk bastard will be squatting over his face. So my buddy is all gung-ho for the challenge, and with a mighty grunt followed with a wet slap he launches himself face first into the nastiest ass at the party, tipo the nose in the pooper and balls on chin. Every witness was immediately crippled with laughter, as this is just the sort of comedy best appreciated by drunk college-ages dudes. My friend was the only one not laughing. He instead went into a crazed Hulk rage that lasted a good hour, and it took several of us to retrieve him from terrorizing the apartment complex. 20 years later and he would still go berserk if someone were foolish enough to speak of the events in his presence. 5 of us spent the weekend in Juarez a while back, before it was so murdery. One dude drank nothing but tequila and spent the whole night chatting up a girl he was convinced was the hottest thing he had ever seen. We spent the whole night trying to convince him she was a dude. One blowjob in an alley later, she flops out her cock for reciprocation. He actually threw up on him her and ran out to us yelling, "Frick, frick, frick." We laughed and laughed, and laughed, then laughed some more. If we ever try to tell that story around him, he will take his ball and go home, immediately. One must wonder if this single event was the catalyst for Juarez becoming so murdery. Dude pukes on femme dude's cock, femme dude gets pissed and starts killing people, before long place becomes the Juarez of today. Went to a house party in high school with a couple of buddies, let's call them John and Marcus. After a couple of hours, Marcus was fairly drunk and talking up a rather unattractive young lady. A few minutes later they headed upstairs together. About 5 minutes passed and John, who was also rather intoxicated, stood up and went after them. From where I was sitting I could see up the stairs, and I watch as John proceeds to kick open the locked bedroom door and scream, "You'll thank me for this tomorrow." A moment later he comes out with Marcus over his shoulder and stormed out of the front door. I drove them both home. Marcus thanked John the next day. Like a true bro. Like a good bromance, Johnny is there. After a lovely Italian banquet, dressed semi-formally, my best friend, her brother and his girlfriend and I decide to continue drinking at our local watering hole. My friend ate tripe and God only knows what else, and upon arrival at the bar, announces that she needs to go. Except it's like a fricking high school reunion in there, and she refuses to poop in a small 2-stall extremely crowded bathroom. So we head back outside and she finds an alley and proceeds to liquid shat a mere 20 feet from the bar with me on watch out. All's better and she's finishing up when a gust of hot wind comes from behind her and takes the stank of poo directly into my face. I immediately vomited. We both don't like to talk about it. While sober I once farted in my own face. Bent over to do something, the sudden pressure change caused a fart to squeak out and the wind carried the butt air directly into my own face. It felt warm. I was sophomore in high school, and my friend, let's call him Jeff, had just graduated. Anyways, his parents are pretty cool about him and whatever he does, so they went out of town and told him not to have a party, but a few friends would be okay. He invited me over. I had no idea that there was alcohol, so I didn't drink. I was 16 and everyone else there, 10 people, was 21 plus except Jeff, whom was 19. So Jeff got hammered, everyone else was passed out. It was 3 AM and he hit up a girl for a booty call. I refused to let him leave, but he wasn't having it. I ended up driving him because I didn't want him to get hurt. This was when I had my permit, and lacked in the skill of driving, but I had to do it. It's hard to stop a horny drunk guy. Using the GPS, we made it to her house. She got in the car. The lights in the car turned on when she opened the door. I don't know what my friend was thinking. She was just, no. Looked like a truck. I don't like being mean to people, but she was just hideous, and I mean Jeff is a pretty good looking, charismatic guy. I couldn't let him go through with this. As she was getting in the car, I asked if she can run inside to get a bottle of water because Jeff was complaining about being thirsty. She agreed and went to get a water bottle. As soon as I saw the house door close behind her, I peeled out and went right the frick back to Jeff's place. He was pretty upset at me, but I told him to just shut up until we got back. We got back and went inside. I told him to lay on the couch, because I had to go take a piss real quick. I come back and see that he is asleep, so I decide for bedtime as well. The next morning, he asks if he called anyone for a booty call, and told him to look at his phone. To his dismay, he saw the number and said please tell me she's not upstairs in my room right now. I explained what happened and I don't think I've seen anyone so happy to hear they didn't get laid, so to repay me, he invited a girl over for the next night of continued drinking and I got laid. A few years ago, on New Year's Eve my friend, who we'll call M, got tits shattered drunk. She made that phrase up that night. After having such fun adventures as telling the guy with his dick out that she's seen better and falling off the toilet and into the shower, I decided it was time to take her drunk ass home. My dad lived about 3 miles away, so after stuffing her into the car I brought her on over and deposited her in the first available room with a bed. I go into the kitchen to get her some good ol' H2O when I hear Aileen, M is taking her clothes off. Go to the back of the house and sure enough M has someone gotten her dress off but is tangled up in her tights, and lo and behold, she's got no underwear on. My poor father is facing the wall in the opposite direction and is the reddest I have ever seen him. Even his bald spot was a lovely shade of maroon. Anyways, I get M all situated and go out to find my dad. He just looks at me and says we shall never speak of this again, and it was so. About 2 or so years ago, my friend's sister was turning 18. So the family held a party for her before she went to a club. My friend himself, both younger, got to invite me and a few others over as well as his sister's own friends. We're all drinking to celebrate before she and her friends go for the night, and everyone there becomes absolutely plastered, parents included. At this stage the sister and friends are gone. So it's me, my friend and some of our other friends, as well the parents and some of their friends. We were still drinking but we had retired to the TV for a bit. Remote isn't working, turns out it's missing batteries entirely. Friend says to his mother that there's no batteries in the remote. She responds saying that she left them in her vibrator. Cue silence. Then everyone except my friend laughing hysterically. Mother tries to ameliorate the situation saying she was joking and that she doesn't have a vibrator. Friend's dad chimes in. Yeah, it's my vibrator. More laughter, more disgust, forever a good memory, except for my friend, who gets annoyed if we ever bring this up again near him. It was roughly 2 AM and my ex was drinking with a few friends and these Nerf guns somehow got involved. Long story short, my ex's friends end up running down the highway, with my ex in pursuit. Now, the kicker is no one realized how bad it would look to have my Spanish ex in a big, puffy, black jacket with a toque chasing down a group of white boys, all in the while waving a Nerf gun in the air screaming, "I'm going to kill you." Things cool off and they run into a 7/11 to get a drink while my ex is outside catching his breath. Next thing he knows, a SWAT team of police cars show, they draw their guns and tell him to get on his hands and knees. Helicopter shows, and spotlights on him. His friends come outside and see him, with a police officer shoving his face into the concrete. The next day, he was just finishing up telling me this story at work. We both worked at a grocery store together and a customer had overheard and was so excited to meet him as he saw the whole ordeal the night before. I tend to love this story yet he was never amused by it. A couple weeks ago there was a small get together at a friend's house. One of the guys brought a girl we all hate that he's trying to get with. She's annoying, but we just put up with her for his sake. Everyone is drinking and it's getting late. The girl, we'll call her Nikki, is getting really messed up. Now we're pretty sure by now that she is not just drunk, but other drugs aren't really uncommon among this particular group, so we let her do her thing. It's getting late and as people sober up they start to head out and the ones who are staying the night are settling into their places. This girl is still going strong but snuggles up to her dude and we all pass out. In the morning we wake up and Nikki is nowhere to be found. One of the guys smells something real rancid so he goes to investigate. In the kitchen he finds that the sink is covered in vomit. Okay, not a huge deal, easy cleanup. We figure it was Nikki and that's why she bailed. Then we look over at the fridge. It's covered in a thick, dark, gooey substance, and when I say covered, I mean inside and out. At this point we're wondering what this girl ate and what drugs she did that would make her puke up something so disgusting. The boys start the cleanup process on the sink and notice a trail coming from the bathroom. Turns out she had also demolished the bathroom sink, toilet, and shower. There was literally puke on the walls. There is no possible way this could all come from a tiny 110 pounds girl. The guys are all chipping in to clean the bathroom and kitchen sink but no one will go near the fridge. Finally one guy, Chuck, goes to investigate. He opens the fridge, takes a big whiff, and instantly shouts out, "What the frick dude, she shat in the fridge." She shat in the fridge. She shat on the milk. She shat on the mac and cheese. She shat on the butter. The poor host had to throw out everything in his fridge and literally bleach the shat out of it. The icing on the cake was finding her shat-stained underwear in the next room, a perfect trophy of her utter embarrassment. The next day she showed up at the house and handed the guy $200 to say sorry. That was a nice gesture, but now whenever me and my friends are feeling down on our life choices, we console each other with a simple, "At least you didn't shat in the fridge."